Hello children, welcome to our oral science revision lesson today. Today we are going to discuss multiple choice questions of your oral science paper. So, as you all know, you are getting 40 MCQs oral science paper and you get 40 marks out of 100 for the multiple choice questions in part 1. And you get multiple choice questions from all three areas: chemistry, biology and physics. So, you get approximately 12 to 13 MCQs from each, and it is very important. If you are going for A, you have to get at least 30 or above for the MCQ paper. Therefore, MCQ paper, part 1 paper is very important, and you have to be very careful when you are answering. You have to read the questions carefully. So, before I start, let us see the importance of how to answer multiple choice questions. So, multiple choice questions, so there can be more than one correct answer. Then you should go for the most correct answer, most accurate answer, and you have to read the instruction given carefully, and you have to check whether they are asking incorrect one or false statement or correct one. So, and you have to omit the most incorrect one first, and if there is a calculation, you have to do the calculation first and you should get your answer, and then check whether that answer is given out of the 4 options before reading the answers. And before you underline the correct answer, before you mark the correct answer, you have to read all 4 answers. So, let us start with the question number 1. So, this is the first question: unit of measuring electrical energy by the domestic electric meter. So, this is from your grade 11 syllabus, chapter 10 electricity lesson. So, you can see there are 4 answers. So, it looks same all 4, but there is a difference. So, you can see the capital symbol. You have to be very careful when you are writing the units. So, first answer kWh. So, what is kWh? Kilowatt hours. So, what matters here whether it is capital or simple. So, if you write capital K, it will be Kelvin. If you write, so kilo, K should be in simple. So, first one K capital, so it can't be kilo, it is Kelvin. So, first one is wrong. Second answer kilowatt hours, K simple, W capital, H simple. So, when you write kilowatt hours, K should be in simple and W should be in capital and H should be in simple. So, correct one second, answer is second. So, what is kilowatt? So, how to get kilowatt? Watt value divided by 1000 will be kilowatt, and number of hours given by simple H. So, therefore, unit of measuring the energy of domestic electricity meter in kilowatt hours, K simple, W capital and H simple. And even in electricity consumption by the electric meter. So, in your house we have the domestic electric meter. So, electric meter also it records the number of units consumed at the end of the month in kilowatt hours, that is kWh. So, let us move on to question number 2. The number of sex chromosomes in somatic cells of man. So, what are sex chromosomes? How many sex chromosomes do we have? So, what are somatic cells and what are the other type of cells in our body? So, let us explore first what are sex chromosomes and what are somatic cells and what are the gamete cells. So, if you take human cell, inside the nucleus there are 46 chromosomes. So, out of those 46 chromosomes, 2 chromosomes are sex chromosomes and 44 chromosomes are somatic chromosomes. So, in our body also there are 2 type of cells, somatic cells and gamete cells. So, gametes, what are gamete cells? So, that is male gamete and female gamete, that is sperm and eggs. So, gamete cells are produced by meiosis, and in humans the gamete cell contain only 23 chromosomes. Out of 23 chromosomes, only 1 chromosome sex chromosome. So, in case of males, out of the 46 chromosome, the last 2 chromosomes XY. In females, the last 2 chromosomes XX. So, we call them sex chromosomes. So, basically in males sex chromosomes XY and females sex chromosome XX, but that is in somatic cells. Somatic cell contain a pair of sex chromosome. So, in males XY and females XX, but when gametes are produced, you have learned about meiosis. By meiosis, number of chromosomes become half. So, somatic cell, the parent cell contain 46 chromosomes, and by meiosis number of chromosomes become half. Therefore, sex chromosome also only 1 sex chromosome enters to the gamete cell. Therefore, somatic cell of man contain only 2 sex chromosomes. So, gamete cell contain only 1 sex chromosome. So, the answer for the question number 2, second. Somatic cell contain how many sex chromosomes? 2 sex chromosomes. So, in males XY and in females XX. But if it is a gamete cell, then the answer would be first one. Gamete cell contain only 1 sex chromosome. So, 23, that is in the gamete cells total number of chromosomes. So, in humans, male gamete or female gamete contain 23 chromosomes. Out of them 22 chromosomes are somatic and 1 chromosome sex chromosome. So, the total number of chromosomes in human cell 46. So, you have to read the active word, you have to pay more attention to the active word of the question before you underline or before you mark the answer. Let us move to the question number 3. Third question. So, this is from chemistry, your grade 10 syllabus, unit 3, chapter 3. So, number of neutrons and number of electrons in the ion indicated by the symbol. So, they have not given the real symbol. So, Z is not the real symbol of the element. So, this 15 indicates the atomic number, 15 indicates the atomic number, 31 indicates the mass number. So, what is atomic number? Number of protons, and number of protons equal to the number of electrons in case of neutral atom. In case of neutral atom, number of protons equal number of electrons, but here you can see it is not a neutral atom, it is 3 minus. So, 3 minus means electrons and protons are not equal, that is very, very important. In case of neutral atom only, protons equal to electrons. So, when it becomes 3 minus, 3 electrons are added. So, 15 electrons become 18 electrons due to 3 minus. So, you can get the number of protons and electrons easily by looking at the atomic number and the charge. By looking at the atomic number and the charge, you can get the number of protons and electrons. So, protons 15, electrons 18. Then let us see how to get the number of neutrons. How to get the number of neutrons? 31 minus 15, that is mass number minus the atomic number. 31 minus 15 means mass number minus atomic number. What is mass number? Number of protons plus number of neutrons. What is 15? Only protons. So, when you subtract 15 from 31, you get the number of neutrons, that will be 16. So, the first one you have to get this respectively. Number of neutrons, 31 minus 15 will be 16 neutrons, and number of electrons will be 18. Correct order, neutrons 16 and electrons 18. So, the answer will be third, 16 neutrons and 18 electrons. So, let us move on to question number 4. Question number 4 again from chemical calculations, grade 10 chemistry. Number of H atoms in 32 grams of CH4. So, when you find the number of atoms, before you find the number of atoms, you should know the number of moles. How to find the number of moles? You have learned in grade 10 chemistry how to convert 32 grams of CH4 into moles. So, you have to divide 32 grams by molar mass of CH4. So, how to find the molar mass of CH4? You can see within brackets you are given the RAM of carbon and hydrogen. So, 1 carbon 12, the mass number or the RAM, and hydrogen 1 into 4, 4. So, the total will be 16, 12 plus 4, 16. So, what is the mass number? 16 grams per mole. So, when you divide 32 by 16, you get 2 moles. How to find the number of moles? 32 grams divided by molar mass of CH4. Molar mass of CH4 16. Then you get number of moles 2 moles of CH4. You get 2 moles of CH4. If you know the number of moles of CH4, you can easily find the number of molecules and number of atoms. So, how to convert 2 moles of CH4 into number of H atoms? So, 2 moles should be multiplied by 4 because 1 CH4 has 4 hydrogen. So, if you take 1 mole of CH4, there are 4 moles of hydrogen. Therefore, when you multiply 2 moles of CH4 by 4, then you get 8 moles of hydrogen. So, first you find, so what are the steps involved? First you should convert 32 grams into number of moles, then you get 2 moles. What is the next step? 2 moles from 2 moles you find the number of moles of hydrogen. So, you get hydrogen moles 8, 2 into 4, 8 moles of hydrogen. So, 8 atomic moles of hydrogen you can convert into the number of H atoms by multiplying Avogadro's constant. So, 8 atomic moles of hydrogen multiplied by Avogadro constant. So, then you get the answer 8 into 6.022 into 10 to the power 23. So, the answer will be the first one. So, if you are to find the number of CH4 molecules, if you are to find the number of CH4 molecules, the answer will be second. Then you get 2 moles into Avogadro constant, then CH4 molecules. Imagine if you are to find the number of carbon atoms, then 2 moles of CH4 multiplied by 1, because carbon only 1 mole in CH4 into Avogadro constant. So, when you are given the amount of grams of any compound, first you should convert grams into moles, and then you can find the number of molecules and number of atoms. But you have to be careful when you are finding the number of atoms of a given molecule. So, if it is glucose here, then it will be 12 hydrogen. Then you have to multiply hydrogen, 12 hydrogen atoms. So, depending on the molecule, number of atoms changes. So, the answer for the question number 4, first one. Then let us move on to the question number 5. Question number 5, this is again from chemistry grade 11, concentration of solutions, and you have done practical source of preparation of various solutions accurately or with non-concentration, we call them standard solutions, and solution with equal concentration. So, that means they have given 4 different compounds, which one has the highest pH. Actually, this when it comes to the concentration is grade 11 3rd chapter, pH you have learned in grade 11 7th chapter, acid, bases and pH. So, when you take high low pH, so it is just qualitative parameter, but when it comes to the exact pH, it will be quantitative. So, highest pH high means basicity increases, higher the pH value, higher the basicity, lower the pH value, lower the basicity. So, therefore, bases, strong bases pH is high. So, pH close to 0 or 1, strong acids, close to 14 strong bases. So, highest pH it has to be a base. So, if it is highest pH it has to be a strong base. So, weak bases close pH is just above 7. So, what are the strong? Let us see the one by one, let us analyze the compounds given, whether they are acidic or basic. Number 1, you should know whether they are acidic or basic. Second, you should know whether it is strongly acid or strongly basic. So, you are very familiar with sodium hydroxide. It is a very common base, most widely used for the experiments in the chemistry lab, sodium hydroxide. So, we call sometimes this is caustic soda, common name. Sulfuric acid H2SO4, that is strong acid. So, sometimes we are used to say battery acid. Sodium chloride NaCl, it is neutral solution. Last one, sodium bicarbonate. So, sometimes we are used to say baking soda or baking powder. So, that is a weak base. So, when you take sodium hydroxide, imagine you take sample of distilled water or battery water or pure water 100%. So, it is neutral. The reason, H plus ion concentration equal to OH minus. So, neutral solution has a equal amount of H plus and OH minus. H plus ion concentration equal to OH minus ion concentration. But when you put a sodium hydroxide to neutral solution, OH minus ion concentration increases than H plus ion concentration, then the solution become basic. So, you have learned pH 7 neutral, but actually at pH 6 also it can be neutral, because if H plus ion concentration become equal to OH minus ion concentration. Actually, the pH is dependent on the temperature as well. So, if you take neutral solution and if you put sodium hydroxide, OH minus ion concentration increases, that is why it becomes basic. If you put H2SO4, H2SO4 contribute H plus ion to the solution. Then what happens? H plus ion concentration increases, then the solution becomes acidic. So, NaCl, if you dissolve sodium chloride in water, it does not contribute any H plus or OH minus to the solution. So, just Na plus ion, so sodium ion and chloride ion. Therefore, it does not change the H plus ion or OH minus ion concentration of the solution. That is why NaCl solution is neutral. If you dissolve sodium bicarbonate in water, then the solution becomes slightly basic, but you cannot see directly any OH minus in sodium bicarbonate, but when you dissolve, it reacts with water molecules and liberate OH minus to the solution. That is why it becomes slightly basic. So, therefore, when gradually when the pH increases, solution become basic. Therefore, highest pH now sodium hydroxide, that is a strong base. Therefore, for a given compound you should know whether it is acid or base, and then you should know whether it is strong or weak. If it is a strong base, pH is high. If it is strong acid, pH is low. And neutral, so if you take 100% pure water, so ultra pure water or grade 1 water, so it is neutral, pH is 7. But that also, if you expose pure water to atmospheric air, you know, carbon dioxide gas dissolve in water, then pH slightly decrease. So, even the water that you drink not 100% you know, pure, it is a mixture, plus you have learned about mixtures in grade 11 third chapter, and when CO2 get dissolved, water become slightly acidic, rain water is slightly acidic. Drinking water also pH is not 7, pH is slightly below 7, around 6.5, between 5 and 6. But if acidic gases like sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide get dissolved in water, then pH value decreases further and it can become even below 4, then it is not suitable for drinking. So, therefore, what matters here, whether the OH minus ion concentration equal to H plus ion concentration in the solution or not. Based on that, we can decide the solution is acidic or basic or neutral. So, not only these solutions you should know acidic, basic and neutral and amphoteric oxides also. If acidic oxide dissolve, solution become acidic. If basic oxide dissolve, solution become basic. If neutral one dissolve, solution become neutral. So, example sodium chloride neutral salt. So, therefore, the answer for this question, highest pH will be sodium hydroxide NaOH. So, if there is lowest pH, the answer would be second, sulfuric acid. Right. So, sometimes you can get this set of compounds like this, they will ask you to arrange them in the increase in order of pH. Sometimes they can ask the same question in the decrease in order of pH. So, therefore, you can get these questions in different forms. Therefore, grade 11 7th chapter acid bases you had referred to answer these questions correctly. So, now let us move on to the question number 6. So, this question number 6, which of the following graph correctly shows the object thrown vertically downwards, velocity time graph. So, this is from your grade 10 chapter 2. You have done Vt graph, St graph. So, what is V here? Velocity y axis. What is T here? Time x axis. So, we call it Vt graph. Sometimes you can get the same thing Vi graph, then we call it voltage, that is Ohm's law, voltage electric current. Now, in a velocity time graph, the gradient of the graph indicates the acceleration. So, when you throw an object upwards, so you have to provide initial velocity. So, therefore, the graph should not start with 0, that is most important thing. So, you have to pay more attention to the active word of the questions. Always when you read the MCQs, you have to pay more attention to the active word of the question. So, what are the most important word in this question? Object thrown vertically down important, it is not drop, it is not released from the rest, it is thrown vertically down. That means initial velocity can't be 0, that is the most important thing. So, most of the students will tend to underline the first answer for this, because velocity increases. So, due to the gravitational acceleration, so gravitational acceleration is constant, but here the answer is not the first one. So, if you only can write below the first graph, if an object is released from rest under gravity, we call it free fall, then the answer is first one, but here the first one is not the correct answer. So, you have to underline thrown vertically down. So, you are projecting that. So, you give an initial velocity. If you throw something downwards 10 meters per second, then you have to start the graph with 10 meters per second, not from 0. So, you can see out of the 4 graph, there are 2 conditions before you select the correct answer. Number 1, the graph should not start from 0 because it is thrown or projected down. Second one, downwards the velocity increases due to the gravitational acceleration. When you drop an object from any height, it undergoes acceleration. That means gradually velocity increases, downwards velocity increases. If you project an object upwards, velocity decreases. So, therefore, second one is not possible because their velocity decreases. So, that is correct if you throw an object vertically upwards, then the velocity decreases. The second graph you can write below the second graph, if an object is thrown vertically up, answer is second. If you release an object from a certain height, the answer is first graph, but here both first and second you can't take as the answer. Then let us see the third answer. Third answer, so the graph start with a certain velocity, initial velocity is not 0 and velocity gradually increases. So the correct answer for this question, third answer, and the last one is also not correct. So therefore, velocity time graph you should know for a given motion how to draw the graph. In addition that you should know how to draw the displacement time graph for a given motion. So the answer for this question, answer is third. Answer is third. Question number 7. Question number 7 again from physics. This is from grade 11 physics chapter 10 and it is also linked with chapter 13 electromagnetism and electromagnetic induction and transformers. So let us see now when you take the domestic electricity supply in Sri Lanka. Domestic electricity supply, so from the national grid we get AC voltage, and hydropower stations or thermal power stations, they use step up transformers to increase this voltage from low value to high value, while step up transformers are used near the powerhouses to convert low voltage to high voltage. Let us see why the transmission is done under high voltage. So you have learned domestic electricity, domestic circuit voltage is 230. So if the powerhouse also generate 230 and if it is directly transmitted, we do not need any transformers. We can directly transmit 230 from the powerhouse and the domestic circuit also 230. But it is fluctuated in the middle, so it is during the transmission, power distribution and power transmission, so it is increased to high voltage. So why high voltage? Actually when electric current is distributed through the national grid long distance, we use these aluminum cables, metals, so any metal has a resistance. Any metal has a resistance. When the resistance increases, so wires get overheated. So these cables get overheated when electrical energy is transmitted over long distance. So if high current flows through these cables, if more current flows through these cables, more electrical energy gets wasted as heat. Therefore, energy is lost as heat during the transmission. Therefore, electricity we produce in the powerhouses get wasted during the transmission. So how to minimize this energy loss during the transmission as heat due to the heating of the cables? So the method they use, transmission is done under high voltage. When the voltage become high, amount of current flows through the wires kept low. When the amount of current flows through the wires kept low, the amount of heat generated in the wire also reduce. Then we can reduce the wastage of energy as heat due to the heating up of wires by keeping the current low. So then again what happens, this high voltage, sometimes it can be more than 100,000 volt, sometimes more than 30,000 volt. Before they supply to the domestic circuit the electricity, again it reduced to low voltage by step down transformers. So first they increase the voltage near powerhouses using step up transformers, and during the power distribution again they reduce that to 230 volt. So during the transmission voltage kept high and amount of current flows kept low using step up transformers to reduce this energy loss as heat. So this is the theory behind this question. So what would be the answer now? So answer will be third, to reduce the energy loss as heat during the transmission. Otherwise definitely large quantity of electrical energy get wasted during the transmission long distance. So if you take powerhouse, from powerhouses to your domestic circuit or your house, there is a long distance more than 300-400 kilometers long distance. So if you use a superconductor, then we can reduce this, we can minimize this heat. So most of the cables we use aluminum cables. Why aluminum cables are used for these high tension wires? Aluminum, one important property, it is one of the readily available metal, that is this most abundant metal in the earth crust. So one of the most abundant metal in the earth crust, aluminum, iron and aluminum. That is number one, economical. Otherwise if we can use copper wires for this transmission, so it is we can reduce the wastage of energy as heat, but it is expensive. Number 2, aluminum cable, so less reactive, it does not react with rainwater, it is not subjected to corrosion. So, that is why aluminum used. So, therefore, you should know the metal that is used for making this high tension cable. So, they no need to insulate because it does not react with rainwater, it is not subjected to rusting and it is light in weight and economical. Question number 8, the decomposition reaction of calcium carbonate is given below. So, this is based on chemical calculation plus balancing of chemical reactions, and you should know how to calculate molar mass and how to calculate number of moles. So, this given reaction is already balanced. Before you go for calculation, you should check whether the reaction is balanced and whether the reactants and products correct formula, whether the given formula is correct or wrong. So, calcium carbonate solid, when you decompose calcium carbonate you get calcium oxide, it is a solid, and carbon dioxide gas. So, this is thermal decomposition reaction, and there are 4 types of reaction, this come under thermal decomposition, and calcium carbonate get decomposed to solid and a gas. Reaction occurs at high temperature around 900 degrees Celsius. So, the question is mass of CO2 produced by decomposing 50 grams of calcium carbonate. So, you decompose, you are going to heat 50 grams of calcium carbonate completely decompose. So, the question is about how many grams of CO2 produced. So, CO2 is a gas, and in addition to CO2 you get calcium oxide also as a product. So, first you have to start with relative molecular mass or the molar mass. Actually, we can't use the term relative molecular mass here because calcium carbonate is not a molecule. So, it is better to use formula mass of calcium carbonate, formula mass, because ionic compounds you can't use the term relative molecular mass because ionic compounds they are lattices, they are not molecules. So, calcium carbonate is an ionic lattice. So, calcium carbonate relative formula mass, you can see within bracket you are given the RAM of each element, calcium 40, carbon 12, oxygen. So, then you get 40 plus 12 plus 48. So, you get the total 100 grams per mole, and under each you have to write the relative molecular mass or the formula mass. Below calcium carbonate 100, calcium oxide you can see within bracket calcium 40, oxygen 16, the total 56, and carbon dioxide, below carbon dioxide you have to write carbon 12 and oxygen 32 because it is or 2, then you get total 44. So, that means if you burn 100 completely, if you decompose 100 completely, you get 56 grams calcium oxide and 44 grams carbon dioxide. So, calcium oxide is also called sometimes quicklime. So, 100 become 56 plus 44. So, if you add 56 plus 44 again you get 100. So, the mass conserved. Now, if you burn 100 you get 44 grams carbon dioxide, but the question they ask when 50 grams of calcium carbonate decompose. If you decompose 100 you get carbon dioxide 44. How to get this? From the relative molecular mass or from the molar mass of each compound. 100 grams the molar mass of calcium carbonate, molar mass of CO2 44. Then when you burn 50, when you decompose 50 you get carbon dioxide also half. So, 100 become half, then CO2 also 44 become half. You can get the answer even without doing the calculation. From 100 you get 50, therefore, from 50 you will get 22 grams. So, the mass of CO2 produced by decomposing 50 grams would be 22 grams of CO2. So, the answer will be first one, you get 22 grams of CO2. Let us move on to question number 9. 4 chemical reactions are given below. So, what are the 4 chemical reactions? A. Thermal decomposition of potassium permanganate. So, what is potassium permanganate? KMnO4. B. Decomposition of hydrogen peroxide, that is H2O2. C. Decomposition of calcium carbonate, that is CaCO3. D. Electrolysis of water. So, out of these 4, oxygen will be released as a product from A. If you heat potassium permanganate, oxygen is given out as the only gas. If you decompose hydrogen peroxide, oxygen is given out as the only gas. C. Decomposition of calcium carbonate. If you decompose calcium carbonate, you get carbon dioxide. Previous question also you have learned, when you decompose calcium carbonate, you get carbon dioxide gas. So, therefore, A produces oxygen, reaction B produces oxygen, and reaction C produces carbon dioxide, and D electrolysis of water. So, you have done this electrolysis of water under unit 12 electrochemistry grade 11. So, when you electrolyze water, you get two gases, hydrogen and oxygen, hydrogen and oxygen. So, out of these four reactions, oxygen will be released from A, B and D. So, let us see the question based on those four reactions. So, in which so they have mentioned here, in which of the above instances oxygen is given as a product. So, out of those four reactions, oxygen is given out as a product in which of these reactions. So, the answer we discussed earlier, out of the four reactions, A, potassium permanganate decomposition, oxygen is given out, therefore A is correct. B, hydrogen peroxide decomposition, so therefore oxygen is given out, B also correct. And C, decomposition of calcium carbonate, it liberates carbon dioxide, not oxygen. D will be electrolysis of water. So, therefore, answer will be A, B and D. So, C cannot be taken because calcium carbonate decomposition, CO2 is given out but not oxygen, but the question is asked oxygen is given out as a product. So, the answer will be second, A, B and D. Let us move on to next question, question number 10. This is again from chemistry. What is the option that correctly indicates all the species contained in an aqueous solution of acetic acid? So, here most important the active word aqueous solution and acetic acid. So, what is acetic acid? That is also called ethanoic acid. Sometimes we use the common name vinegar. So, vinegar, there are three terms you can use for this: acetic acid, vinegar or ethanoic acid. So, it is widely used in the kitchen. We call it vinegar. So, what is the chemical formula of acetic acid? CH3COOH. So, when you put acetic acid into water, when you dissolve acetic acid in water, it liberates H plus ion because it is an acid. Therefore, solution should definitely contain H plus ion. When H plus ion is liberated, it becomes acetate ion. What is the chemical formula of acetate ion? CH3COO minus. So, therefore, acetic acid partially decomposed, not completely, partially ionized into acetate ion and H plus because it is a weak acid. Then H plus ions and CH3COO minus ion present. In addition that, since it is aqueous solution, undissociated water molecules present, undissociated water molecules present, that is H2O. And OH minus also available in the solution because at any temperature, even 100% pure water self ionize into H plus and OH minus. So, any aqueous solution contain H plus and OH minus. So, therefore, H plus and OH minus released from water and H plus can be released from both water and acetic acid. So, therefore, basically the solution contain undissociated CH3COOH and partially due to the partial ionization of acetic acid you get H plus and CH3COO minus and undissociated water molecules and OH minus. So, the answer will be third. Question number 10, answer is third. Let us move on to question number 11. Question number 11, out of the following which one is an endothermic process? So, endothermic means heat is absorbed and during endothermic reactions temperature decreases. So, first one, reaction of NaOH with HCl. So, when NaOH react with HCl, we call it neutralization, acid base reaction, heat is given out. So, it is an exothermic reaction. First one is an exothermic reaction. So, that is not the answer. Second one, dissolve in sodium hydroxide in water. So, when you dissolve a base in water, heat is given out. Therefore, dissolve in sodium hydroxide in water, exothermic. When you dissolve an acid or a base in water, heat is liberated. Therefore, dissolve in both acid and bases come under exothermic reaction. Number 3, dissolve in of solid ammonium chloride. So, what is ammonium chloride? NH4Cl, it is an ionic compound. When you dissolve ammonium chloride, ionic compound, then heat is absorbed for breaking down the ionic bonds. To break down this lattice, heat is absorbed. Therefore, endothermic reaction will be third one. Even when you dissolve common salt sodium chloride in water, heat is absorbed for breaking down the lattice. So, dissolving of these type of ionic lattices or ionic compounds, the process will be endothermic. Fourth one, dissolving of sulfuric acid in water, H2SO4. H2SO4 is strong acid. So, dissolving of H2SO4 in water, an exothermic process. Now, basically when you dissolve an acid or base in water, heat is given out. When you react an acid with a base, heat is liberated. When you react a metal with an acid, then also heat is liberated. So, therefore, basic reactions whether they are endothermic or exothermic, you should know. So, exo means heat is liberated to the surrounding and endo means heat is absorbed from the surrounding. During an endothermic process, temperature of the solution decreases. Therefore, the answer for the question number 11 answer is third. Let us move question number 12. Question number 12, a bar magnet is pushed into a long solenoid connected to a sensitive galvanometer. So, you are moving a bar magnet towards a coil at rest and coil is connected to galvanometer. Why galvanometer? To check whether there is a current or whether there is a deflection. So, what happens when you move the magnet towards the coil? Electricity is generated in the coil. This come under electromagnetic induction, Faraday's electromagnetic induction, grade 11, chapter 13. So, the question is about which of the following would affect the magnitude of the deflection. So, the active word here, magnitude of deflection of the galvanometer. Magnitude means whether more current or less current. When the magnitude of the deflection increase, more current flows through the coil. If the magnitude of the deflection less means less current. So, if you want to produce more current, there are three factors affecting the magnitude of the current. Number one, strength of the magnetic field or the strength of the magnet. Second factor that affect here, the number of turns in the coil. Third factor, how fast you are moving the magnet towards the coil. So, what are the three factors affecting the magnitude of the current? Strength of the magnet, number of turns of the coil and how fast you are moving the magnet. So, the first one, how fast the magnet is pushed into the coil. So, that is the correct answer. When you move the magnet fast, there will be more deflection of the galvanometer. If you move the magnet slowly, there will be less deflection. If you do not move the magnet, no deflection. Therefore, what is the main requirement? There must be a relative motion between this magnet and the coil. If you keep both magnet and the coil at rest, no current. And if you are moving magnet towards the coil which is at rest or coil towards the magnet which is at rest, electricity is produced. So, the answer for this one first, but the other three not related to the magnitude of the deflection of the galvanometer. Let us move to question number 13. Question number 13, the graph shows the variation of the temperature when heating a solid wax, So, both question number 13 and 14 based on the graph given below. So, let us move on to the next slide. So, you can see the graph. So, sometimes we call them heating curve. So, heating of solid wax. So, this is the graph for heating solid wax. So, you can see y axis temperature, x axis time. So, the question number 13, so they ask even when continuously heated, no change in temperature observed between B and C. So, they have given A, B, C, D 4 sections. Between B and C, no change in temperature. So, that is the active word of this question, no change of temperature between B and C. So, what is called the heat supplied during this time? During this time interval means between T1 and T2, the heat supplied but no change in temperature. So, A to B temperature change, temperature increases as you supply heat. C to D also temperature increases when you supply heat, but B to C you can see y axis no change in the temperature. So, why this what happened to this temperature? Actually, when you heat solid wax, there is a melting point of wax. So, any substance, any solid has its own melting point. So, as you heat, what happened? When the temperature reached to melting point, it begins to melt, but temperature no change. But we supply heat. Heat is absorbed, but temperature no change. So, what happened to that heat? That heat is absorbed for breaking down the bonds in the compound. For breaking down the bonds in the compounds, heat is absorbed. That means bond breaking, heat is absorbed. So, but temperature no change. Therefore, we call this latent heat. When you supply heat, if there is no change in the temperature, we call that latent heat. And wax melt, so we call it fusion. So, we call it latent heat of fusion. Temperature no change because of fusion, because of bond breaking, and that heat is called latent heat. But A to B and C to D temperature increases, therefore, we can't call it latent heat. So, the answer for question number 13, third, latent heat of fusion. Question number 14. Question number 14, physical state of wax between B and C. So, this is again linked with the previous graph. Between B and C, the physical state. So, A to B, solid wax gradually temperature increases. B to C, at B you have, that is the point where wax begin to melt at point B. So, that at point B solid wax, within few seconds the entire cube will not melt. So, it takes some time. So, between B and C you have both solid wax and liquid wax. When it reached to point C, it is completely melted. So, we have liquid wax. So, at point B, that is the melting point, wax begins to melt, and between B and C both solid and liquid wax. At C you have liquid wax. So, let us see now the question again, the question number 14 linked with this, between B and C. So, as we discussed, now between B and C both liquid and solid wax exist. So, the answer for the question number 14, second, both liquid and solid. Let us move to question number 15. Which of the following is incorrect about liquid pressure? So, this is from grade 10 chapter 15. So, you have done atmospheric pressure, liquid pressure and the equation calculation. So, what is the equation? Which one is incorrect? So, incorrect statement about liquid pressure. So, liquid pressure is equal, what is the equation? We can calculate P equals H rho g. So, what is the equation to calculate liquid pressure? P equals H rho g. So, if you remember this equation, you can easily get the answer. What is P here? Pressure in Pascal. What is H here? Vertical height of the liquid column. Vertical height of the liquid column. What is rho? Density of the liquid. G, gravitational acceleration. So, if you remember this equation, you can easily decide what are the factors affecting the liquid pressure. Vertical height of the liquid, that means A is correct, depends on the depth of the liquid. B, liquid pressure depends on the density of the liquid. Yes, rho is density. When the density increases, liquid pressure increases. When the depth of the liquid increases, the pressure increases. Number 3, liquid pressure depends on the shape of the container. Remember, liquid pressure does not depend on the whether you fill to the same height in different containers, different volume, but the pressure acting at the base of both these will be same if the vertical height same. So, it does not matter the shape of the container or the volume of liquid inside. If both A and B contain the same liquid, the density will be same. So, if we assume H, vertical height same, then the pressure acting at the base will be equal. Therefore, liquid pressure does not depend on the size or the shape of the container. It depends on the vertical height of the liquid, density of the liquid and gravitational acceleration. But anyway, G is constant on the earth, G is constant, therefore, basically it depends on the depth of the liquid and density of the liquid. So, the answer for question number 15, incorrect statement, answer is third. Liquid pressure depends on the shape of the container, that is the incorrect one. So, all the other 3 are correct. Let us move on to question number 16. This is from chemistry, grade 11, unit 3, mole fraction, the different methods of expressing the composition of mixtures. Mole fraction of glucose. So, there are 2 substances here, glucose and water. Before you find the mole fraction, you should know the number of moles of each. So, mole fraction given by symbol X. So, you ask to find the mole fraction of glucose. So, mole fraction of glucose. So, when you find the mole fraction of glucose, you have to find the number of moles of glucose, I put here G, glucose, divided by number of moles of glucose plus number of moles of water. So, we call it total moles. Before you find the mole fraction, you have to calculate the number of moles of glucose and number of moles of water. Then you can get the total moles of the solution. So, how to find the glucose moles? So, glucose moles you get 360 grams of glucose divided by molar mass of glucose, you can get its 180. So, glucose molar mass C6H12O6, it's 180 grams per mole, and water molar mass will be 18. So, when you divide 360 180, you get 2 moles. You get glucose, you get 2 moles. When you divide water by 18 grams per mole, water you get 100 moles. So, we know the number of moles of each. Glucose 2 moles, water 100 moles. So, how to find the mole fraction of glucose? Glucose moles divided by total moles. Glucose moles divided by total moles. Total moles will be glucose moles plus water moles. Glucose moles we have got 2 moles, water moles 100, 100 plus 2, 102 moles, 102 moles. So, mole get cancelled, therefore, mole fraction has no units, mole fraction has no units. So, 2 times 1, 2 times 51. So, you get the final answer, mole fraction of glucose equal number of moles of glucose divided by number of moles of glucose plus number of moles of water. So, you get glucose moles 2 moles, total moles we got 102 moles. So, you get here 1 over 51, the simplest ratio, mole get cancelled. So, 2 over 102 means 1 over 51. So, the answer for mole fraction of glucose will be 1 over 51, answer is 4th, 1 over 51. So, question number 17, most of the oxides react with water forming acidic or basic solution. Which of the following oxide does not react with water? Oxide which does not react with water. So, let us see the first one, nitrogen dioxide. Nitrogen dioxide is an acidic oxide, it can cause acid rain also. When you dissolve nitrogen dioxide in water, it produces an acidic solution because it is an acidic gas. Second one, sulfur trioxide SO3, it is also an acidic gas. When you dissolve sulfur trioxide in water, it produces sulfuric acid H2SO4. Number 3, aluminium oxide Al2O3. So, aluminium oxide, it is an amphoteric oxide, it reacts with acid and bases, but it does not react with water. So, aluminium oxide does not react with water, but it reacts with acid and bases. So, that is an amphoteric oxide. So, the answer, you have already got the answer now, aluminium oxide does not react with water. So, the question asks about the oxide which does not react with water. So, the answer will be third. What about sodium oxide? Sodium oxide, the fourth one, sodium oxide, if you dissolve in water, you get sodium hydroxide solution, it is basic. So, therefore, sulfur trioxide and nitrogen dioxide acidic solution and sodium oxide produce basic solution, but aluminium oxide, it does not react with water. The best example, if you take cooking pots, aluminium cooking pots, the inert surface, so it is aluminium, but the surface is an inert layer, that is aluminium oxide. Therefore, aluminium cooking pot, it does not react with water, it does not react with oxygen again, but if you are preparing acidic or basic food in aluminium cooking pots, it can cause aluminium food poisoning. Therefore, we should not prepare acidic or basic food in aluminium cooking pots, because this aluminium oxide is an amphoteric oxide, it can react with acids and bases and can release some harmful compounds to your food. So, and it can cause food poisoning and it is not good to your kidney also. So, let us move on to question number 18. Which of the following is not the characteristics of the image produced by convex mirrors? So, this is from grade 11 chapter 5 optic lesson. So, you have 3 types of mirrors, plane mirrors, convex mirrors and concave mirrors. So, when I tell convex mirrors, what should come to your head? Side mirrors of the vehicles, side mirrors of vehicles, or drive-in mirror or rear view mirror of the drivers. So, you can see even in a school van or bus driver. So, all the students inside the vehicle, so they appears erect or upright in the mirror. So, therefore, the images are erect, otherwise all the students inside the vehicle or the bus become upside down. So, that will be a problem when you are using the rear view mirror or the driver or the side mirror. So, all the images formed by convex mirror, upright or erect, and they are small in size. So, the first one reduce in size, that is correct. So, all the images appear small in size, that means large area can be viewed using convex mirror. So, using the side mirror of the vehicle, you can see all the vehicles behind your vehicle, that means large area brought to small scale. Therefore, all the images formed by convex mirrors, wherever the object, the position, image is always small in size, smaller than the object. So, the first one is correct. Second one, laterally inverted, that also correct. As you all know, plane mirror, any mirror, the objects laterally inverted, left and right interchange. So, example, ambulance letters also printed because of this lateral inversion. Third one, upright image. So, upright or erect image, that also correct. Last one, real image, that is the incorrect one. So, in the question they are asking about not the characteristics of image. The fourth one, real image. Remember, convex mirrors and plane mirrors are always forming virtual images. So, what are virtual images and what are real images? Virtual images means those images cannot be captured on a screen, but real images can be captured on a screen. So, using the side mirror of the vehicle or using plane mirror, you can't get a real image, those images cannot be captured on a screen. Therefore, basically concave mirrors form both real and virtual images, plane mirrors always virtual, and convex mirror, side mirror always virtual. So, the answer for question number 18, not a characteristic of the image formed by convex mirror will be real image. All the other three are correct, real images are not formed by convex mirrors. Let us move to question number 19. The organisms of which of the following groups are found only in marine environment? This is from your grade 10 chapter 13 classification. So, there you have learned about 5 invertebrate phylums, begin from the coelenterata, annelida, mollusca, arthropoda and echinodermata. Out of 5 invertebrate phylums, altogether 5 invertebrate phylums, out of the 5 invertebrate phylum, the organisms of the last invertebrate phylum echinodermata, all the organisms are found in seawater or in marine environment. When it comes to seal, okay, let us analyze one by one the answers. First answer, coelenterata. Coelenterata, some organisms are in fresh water, some are in marine water. So, hydra, jellyfish, sea anemone. So, annelida, annelids, so the earthworm, leech, so they are found in both or nereis. So, some are found in fresh water, some are found in moist environment, some are in marine environment. But when it comes to echinodermata, all the organisms are marine environment. Last one, mollusca. So, what are the examples under mollusca? The snail, cuttlefish, sometimes covered with a shell. So, mollusca, there can be both fresh water as well as marine. If you take the snail, found in wet environment, and if you take the squid and cuttlefish, found in marine environment. So, the answer for question number 19, third one. Question number 20, which of the following is an example for an antiseptic? So, what are antiseptics? There are 3 types of these chemicals. So, we use in our day to day life: antibiotics, antiseptics and disinfectants. So, antibiotics can be taken orally, and disinfectants, so some mostly we use for the non-living surfaces, and antiseptics mostly for the living surfaces. So, these days these antiseptics are very popular and the disinfectants because of COVID-19. So, most widely we use this alcohol or ethyl alcohol, but in your syllabus they have given some other chemicals. So, this is from actually chapter 15, last chapter of your grade 11 syllabus, antiseptic. So, boric acid, it is used as an antiseptic. All the other 3 answers, phenol, chlorine and bleach in powder, they are disinfectants. Chlorine is used for sometimes for the sterilization of drinking water, and bleach in powder also sometimes used for the drains and all these hospitals and the drains to kill the germs, but you can't put your skin these 2 because it is highly corrosive, it can damage your cells. Other than boric acid, mostly we use surgical spirit also as an antiseptic. So, antibiotics can be taken orally, antiseptics mostly used for the living surfaces, and disinfectants we use mostly for the non-living surfaces like bathrooms, tiles, drains. So, therefore, question number 20, the antiseptic will be boric acid. So, the other 3 you can write, all 3 are disinfectants. So, with this we have come to an end of the today's lesson. So, I think you have got the solid idea about the MCQs and how to approach the MCQs, and you have to pay more attention to the keyword, and you have to read the instruction carefully before you underline the correct answer, and you have to read all 4 answers before you mark the correct answer. So, you can watch this again in NIE channel in YouTube, and you can get more informations. And so, with this I will wind up the today's lesson. Have a good day.